Today I'll be showing you how to make a quick, delicious noodle. Since you're going back to university or college, I suspect most of you would like to have a pretty good meal for lunch or maybe even for dinner. I wouldn't call it dinner, but lunch for sure. It's quite quick if you have all the ingredients. For example, a noodle. This is an udon noodle, Japanese Korean noodle. You need 1 egg. If you want, you can have 2. You need a stock powder. This is like soup stock. This is a beef flavor. You can get chicken flavor as well. You can go to any Loblaws, grocery stores, or any type of grocery store, a Chinese grocery store, they would have it. This is a special one. This is because I am Chinese, and so there's this dry fungus type of mushroom. Very delicious once you boil it in the pot of boiling water. I add that to the ingredient, and that's about it. All we need to do is boil this water. Now what you want is maybe between 1/3 to 1/2 boiling water, and then add the soup stock, and then add the dry fungus or mushroom, and then add the egg, and then at the end you want to add the udon noodle. Just leave it for about 2-3 minutes when you put this in, no more than that, okay? Because once the water is boiled with all these 3 ingredients, then the last one you want to put in is the udon noodle, and that's about it. Let's get started. I'll show you right now how to do it. Okay, I can see the water start to boil now. I can see little bubbles coming up. So the first thing you want to do is add the soup stock. This is a beef flavor, about a teaspoon full. Okay, about this much. Right? Depending on how strong flavored you want. I don't want to put too much. Right? Now, usually what I like to put in here as well is onion. I'll chop the onion up longitudinally, right? And then put it in here because onion tastes really good with this. But I don't have onion, so I didn't put it in here. Okay? So that's it. This water took only about a couple minutes to boil. Now, next thing I want to do is my favorite. I'm going to put in this dry fungus. Now you can also, this is actually, you can buy and purchase in the Chinese store, right? You can also add in seaweed, dry seaweed as well in here if you don't have if you don't want to add dry fungus, because I find that seaweed and or dry fungus makes a soup taste really good. Okay, very authentic. Now, some of you is probably heading back to university. I remember my university years, 4 years at University of Western Ontario. I had to survive somehow by cooking my own, because food in the cafeteria is quite expensive, even back in those days, right? So you want to make sure you learn to manage your money when you're in university, because when you come out, you might be in a lot of debt. And one of the ways to control it is food habits. Make sure you eat quite regularly, healthy, and have enough money to eat, right? So, you know, if you buy all these ingredients, you can save a lot of money instead of going out and eat. Ooh, looks pretty good so far. Okay. Now, I will wait till it boils a little bit, and then when that happens, I'm going to add my eggs. I remember my early university years, you know, we didn't have a lot of money. We had to cook on our own. Food, even back then, was costly, especially go out and eat. So we got to make sure we know how to cook. That's one of the skills. You need to know how to do it. All you need is a stove, right? And you want a quick dinner, but quite relatively anyway, healthy. So, you know, you don't want to be going to those fast food restaurants all the time. It's not healthy, not good for your heart. So, these type of food is in between super healthy and really bad food. So, for university and college students, I would recommend these type of quick ingredient type of food. Like I said, udon noodle with, you know, different stuff you want to put in there, like dry fungus. It may sound kind of gross, but actually this Chinese dry fungus is quite delicious. Or the dried seaweed you can put in here as well, right? Anyway, let's start putting in the egg. There we go. Okay, just crack that in there, and it will start boiling. Leave it for about at least 3 minutes. Okay, you want the the egg to boil up and cook really well. Make it really well cooked, I would say. I like a well cooked egg. All right. And then the last, of course, ingredient is to add the udon noodle. Right. So, like back to my university years again. Just make sure you budget and manage your money well, because one of the things that I think can stress a lot of students is that at the end of the year they don't have enough money to survive. And you know, one of the things they need to do is control their budget, and one way they can control it is the food. Now you don't want to also not eat. You want to eat healthy as well, so you got to find a balance between, you know, not having enough money to eat and to eat healthy, and which can cost some money. But if you manage your, you know, your food intake and your cooking money, you should be able to survive well in university and college. Like I said, if you have all the these ingredients, for example, let's go back to it again. This bag of soup stock, for example. Now I wouldn't say this is probably the most unhealthy one of all the ingredients because it has probably MSG in there. If you want, you can just add salt instead of this food stock here. Okay. But anyway, just buy one bag. This costs you maybe a couple bucks, and will last you probably you know, at least I would say neither half a year or to a full year. Okay. And then of course this mushroom thing, you know, you could last you for a week or two, right? You don't have to use that. You can use a cheaper ingredient like the dried seaweed, or you don't even have to add it at all. All right. And that's about it. An egg, of course, costs, if you think about it, egg costs about 25 cents to 33 cents per egg. So, you know, this, for example, this pot here shouldn't cost you more than $1. And you can, when you eat it, you feel full, and you feel like you're revived again. It feels refreshing, right? Just $1, maybe even less. If you have all the ingredients, it should probably cost you less than $1 actually. All right. Now let's add the udon noodle. Let's see. Now once you add the udon noodle, it only take about 2-3 minutes before it's ready, because you don't need to heat it up that long. There we go. Now I need a chopstick. You can use a fork as well, but I'm going to use a chopstick here to stir the udon noodle to break it apart. Okay, you can see the mushroom looks pretty good, isn't it? And that's about it. I mean, now we can give it a try to see what it tastes like. Okay, so it's finished. You can see there's egg, there is the fungus mushroom, and then the udon noodle there. Now notice I have some soup left over with some bits of eggs and whatever that was in here, right? It's transferred here. Now this is actually pretty good. You can actually save this, put in a cup, right, container, and store it away. Now use it for only for 1 day, of course, right? Store it away. Once it's cooled down, put it in the fridge, and the next day in the morning you can use it as a soup noodle, quick one, without even you know, making anything. Just heat it up in the microwave or boil it up, and maybe add a few you know, whatever you want, like onion, a little bit of macaronis, right? Make it boil it up, a few of them, and or flakes of spaghettis, you know, tiny chunk. You can break them into a long piece and you cut into little small pieces and put it in here, boil it up, and you get instant noodle, and it's super healthy. Okay, so again, save money by doing that. You can save these soup stock. Let it cool down, put in a container for 1 day, next day, and use it, boil it, and then put some of these spaghetti, bits and pieces of spaghetti and macaroni, tiny macaroni in there. Okay, so then you can save that for breakfast when you're on a run. Okay, and then this is your lunch now. Let's have a try and see what it tastes like. Okay, so we have it ready. Now I usually put hot sauce in my soup, and I have a little drink here, coffee, whatever you want in there. I'm ready to go. Now before I eat, I always pray. So thank you, God, for this food. Amen. So ready to go. So we're gonna eat now. Let's take some hot sauce, add it. into my noodle soup, and we're ready to go. Cool. Let's taste it now. Especially the mushroom, right? Oh, it's good. Mushroom, fungus, mushroom. Crunchy. And healthy too. EducateTube.com.